So today is the 24th day of the 9th month. It is Hanukkah, 24th day of the month of Kislev. And as I kept going on for the last few months talking about this day, what an important day it should be. Oh, and before I begin this video, what am I wearing? I am wearing the clothing of shame and the yellow star that the crusaders, Christian crusaders, forced the Jews to wear during the Crusades, pogroms, the Holocaust. And in their honor, I do this, and in their honor, I say, may they rise up in judgment as able against the murderers, the rapists, the pillagers, who did all these things in the name of Jesus. Now, so I mentioned many times this day, the 24th day of the 9th month, it is a special day. Why? It is the day where Jehovah, our Father in heaven, holy is his name, when he will once again bless Israel. 100 years ago to the day, Jerusalem was given to the British in battle. It took one day for them to take it, upon the promise that the British made to make a homeland for the Jews in what the Romans dubbed Palestine. When it came time to actually do what they promised, during the Holocaust, during World War II, the British reneged on their promise by blocking the door to Israel, by blocking the door to the Holy Land, to keep the Jews who were escaping Nazi Europe from coming in. And many were forced back, or most of them, and I believe they were all forced back into Europe, which many of them died as a result. So the British are culpable. They stand with the Nazis by perpetrating this vile and vicious act upon the Jews. So their promise was reneged upon. And now here we are 100 years after the liberation of Jerusalem from the Ottoman Turks. And as I said, that the call from President Donald Trump, or the proclamation that Jerusalem belongs to the Jews, that Jerusalem belongs to Israel, and that it is just a plain fact that's in everybody's faces. And that is the reason why he made such a proclamation, although it's written in law in the United States and was been written in law since 1995. So what comes next? Here we are 100 years later. What is next? Okay, since Israel was declared a state in 1948, and Jerusalem has been declared to belong to Israel in 2017. What is next? Well, the next is Mount Zion. What is Mount Zion? Mount Zion, I will go to Wikipedia. And I will start by typing in Mount Zion. Mount Zion is a hill in Jerusalem just outside the walls of the old city. The term Mount Zion has been used in the Hebrew Bible first for the city of David. Do you know where the city of David is, folks? That's right, East Jerusalem. And that's backed up by 2 Samuel 5 verse 7, 1 Chronicles 11 verse 5, 1 Kings 8 verse 1, 2 Chronicles 5 verse 2, and later for the Temple Mount. They say, but its meaning has shifted and is now used as a name of ancient Israel's western hill. Well, that would be incorrect. So, I want to go and see just how close Mount Zion is to the Temple Mount. Let's see. Apparently, 4.1 kilometers. Now, I think I'm going to read on the Jerusalem Post, A Tale of Two Mountains. Despite the existence of significant religious sites for Judaism, Islam, and Christianity on both Mount Zion and the Temple Mount, let me go to it. Only one seems to periodically explode with tensions. Why? Last evening was Laylat al-Qadr, the last Friday of Ramadan, a night dedicated to special prayers and meditations. As in the last few years, it drew tens of thousands of worshippers to the Temple Mount, to Haram al-Sharif and Al-Aqsa Mosque. I'll scroll down, pass up some of it. Tension and friction in Jerusalem are almost a matter of routine, sometimes ending in bloodshed, other times controlled before reaching that stage, but in two particular locations, very different initiatives and activities have produced different results. While the eyes of the world are locked on Jerusalem in general, and more precisely on the Temple Mount, nearby Mount Zion, which has just as many points of friction and tension among various religious factions, has managed to remain less chaotic most of the time. One explanation is the fact that while Mount Zion has long been a part of Israel proper, the Temple Mount was recaptured in 1967 during the Six-Day War. Another reason is that despite the tremendous potential for tourism and global interest, Mount Zion has never made it to the front lines of the violence, apart from sporadic incidents perpetrated by hooligans, mostly arson of Christian institutions, although there is a Muslim site, the Jani Cemetery. Other parties involved are Jewish and Christian, with most of the city's Christian community represented. There are some obvious reasons why the situation is less explosive on Mount Zion than it is on the Temple Mount, even though both are highly significant sites for more than one religion. A source of local security forces said that since the Christian sites on Mount Zion are mostly Catholic, it couldn't be otherwise. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, folks? The Catholics have most of Mount Zion. The Christians. The fact that they are Catholic sites means they belong to the Vatican. Where am I going with this? You're going to see in just a minute. No official representing the state of Israel would want to reach a situation in which the Vatican's interest would be harmed under our control. That's out of the question, he says. Now, folks, everybody thinks the controversy is about the Temple Mount. Wait till you see what I'm going to read next. Once again, how many times have I gone over this? Isaiah 34. Verse 1, come near, you nations, to hear, and hearken, you people. Let the earth hear, and all that are therein the world, and all the things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Jehovah is upon all nations. What nations? It says all nations. And his fury is upon all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses. Make note of Ezekiel 38 and 39. And the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Yes. Ezekiel 38 and 39, the war takes place on the mountains of Israel. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens be rolled back together as a scroll. This is mentioned, Peter mentions this, and it is mentioned several times in the New Testament. As a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falls from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. You can do your due diligence. You can just go and Google, the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. And you will see every time this is mentioned, it is talking about Isaiah 34, the events of Isaiah 34. So why then? So every single event that is written in the New Testament concerning the heavens being rolled together as a scroll and all their hosts shall fall down is for one reason, folks, and for one reason only. For the sword, my sword, shall be bathed in heaven, and behold, it shall come down upon Edom. We just got finished saying all the nations are going to receive his judgment. But his sword is going to come down upon Edom, upon the people of his cursed judgment. The sword of Jehovah is filled with blood and is made with fatness, and the blood of the lambs, and the goats, and the blood and the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Jehovah has a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Edom. And Edom is very close to Jordan. In other words, the people who call themselves Palestinians. Now, why is this happening? From verse 1 to verse 8, why is this happening? Because it is the day of Jehovah's vengeance and the year of recompenses. Please note, Joel 3 talks about recompense. For the controversy of the Temple Mount? Is that what it says? Nope. It's not what it says. Is it the controversy over the temple? No. That's not what it says. The controversy is over Mount Zion. Now, we just read who has taken ownership of Mount Zion. The Christian Catholics. And so people like Walid Shubat claim it's the Muslim beast. It's the Muslim beast. That is absolute fictitious. You see, because the Muslims, they are a Protestant religion off of Catholicism, just like the other Protestants are. Now, I know there are going to be some people going to be really angry with me for saying that, but you got to understand, folks. Where did Muhammad come from? He was taught and raised by Catholic monks. Martin Luther, the Protestant, who was he? He was a Catholic priest. He all came from the Catholics, folks. So to sit there and use the term the Islamic or Muslim beast, that is shady serpentine language. It is incorrect. We read right here in verse 8 of Isaiah 34, the next controversy is going to be over Mount Zion. Now, yes, it is true that Mount Zion and Jerusalem, it is interchangeable. But when you really get down to the brass tacks, when you really get down to the nitty-gritty, Mount Zion is owned by the Vatican, the Little Horn. And that is what the controversy is all about. That is the thing that is going to rile up the wrath of Jehovah, our Holy Father in heaven, against the one who claims he is the Holy Father on earth. You see, the counterfeit, the opposer. And this brings me back to a problem. Now, I was very happy about the proclamation by President Donald Trump concerning Jerusalem. It belongs to Israel. It is a fact. It is an established fact. It is undeniable. But the problem is the State Department said something that I find offensive and very troubling. Okay. And this is on the White House website, www.whitehouse.gov. I find this extremely troubling. If I remember, I will post this on my video. Here's what it says. The White House, Office of Press Secretary for immediate release. Presidential proclamation recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of the State of Israel and relocating the United States Embassy to Israel to Jerusalem. By the President of the United States of America, here's the proclamation. The foreign policy of the United States is grounded in principled realism, which begins with an honest acknowledgement of plain facts. with the respect of the State of Israel that requires official recognition Jerusalem as its capital and relocating the United States Embassy to Israel to Jerusalem as soon as practicable. The Congress, since the Jerusalem Embassy Act of 1995, Public Law 104-45, called the Act, has urged the United States to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and to relocate our embassy to Israel to that city. The United States Senate reaffirmed the act in a unanimous vote in June 5th, 2017. Now, 22 years after the act's passage, I have determined that it is time for the United States to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. This is long overdue. Recognition of reality is in the best interests of both the United States and the pursuit of peace between Israel and the Palestinians. 70 years ago, the United States under President Truman recognized the State of Israel. Since then, the State of Israel has made its capital in Jerusalem, the capital of the Jewish people established in ancient times. Today, Jerusalem is the seat of Israel's government, the home of Israel's parliament, the Knesset, its Supreme Court, the residences of its prime minister, the president, and the headquarters of many of its government ministries. Jerusalem is where officials of the United States, including the president, meet their Israeli counterparts. It is therefore appropriate for the United States to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. I have determined that the United States will relocate our embassy to Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This action is consistent with the will of Congress as expressed in this act. Today's actions, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and announcing the relocation of our embassy, do not reflect a departure from strong commitment of the United States to facilitate a lasting peace agreement. The United States continues to take no position on any final status issues. The specific boundaries of Israel's sovereignty in Jerusalem are subject to final status negotiation between the parties. The United States is not taking a position on the boundaries or the borders. Now, up until this point, I have no problem with this proclamation. But in the next paragraph, we do have a major problem. Above all, our greatest hope is for peace, including through a two-state solution if agreed to by both sides. Peace is never beyond the grasp of those who are willing to reach for it. In the meantime, the United States continues to support the status quo at Jerusalem's holy sites, including the Temple Mount, also known as Haram al-Sharif. Jerusalem is today and must remain a place where Jews pray at the Western Wall, where Christians walk the stations of the cross, and where Muslims worship at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. That is incorrect. That is absolutely wrong. So, I will finish it with today's decision. My administration reaffirms its long-standing commitment to building a future of peace and security in the Middle East. It is time for all civilized nations and people to respond to disagreement with reasoned debate, not senseless violence, and for young and moderate voices across the Middle East to claim for themselves a bright and beautiful future. Today, let us rededicate ourselves to a path of mutual understanding and respect, rethinking old assumptions and opening our hearts and minds to new possibilities. I ask the leaders of the Middle East, political and religious, Israeli and Palestinian, Jewish and Christian and Muslim, to join us in this noble quest for lasting peace. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim the United States recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of the State of Israel, and that the United States Embassy to Israel will be relocated to Jerusalem as soon as it is I don't know if they spelled that right. Practical. It says practicable. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 6th day of December in the year of our Lord 2017, and the independence of the United States the 242nd. So, there is a major, major flaw in this proclamation. I will go to Ezra 1. Verse 1, in the first year of Cyrus king of Persia, the word of Jehovah by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. Jehovah stirred up the spirit of Cyrus king of Persia, and he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and he put it in writing, saying, Thus says Cyrus king of Persia, Jehovah Elohim of heaven has given me all the kingdoms of the earth. He has charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you, all his people? His Elohim be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of Jehovah Elohim of Israel. He is the Elohim. This is what comes out of, this is what Cyrus is decreeing. Who is in Jerusalem, and whoever remains in that place where he sojourns, let the men of his place help him with silver and gold, and with goods and with beasts, beside the freewill offerings for the house of Elohim that is in Jerusalem. So then the exiles returns, and Cyrus restores the holy vessels. I hope I can find Then you have the whole list of returning exiles, the priests, the Levites, temple servants, etc. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen like what happened in Ezra and Nehemiah. It's not. What I'm getting at is when the opposers try to stop the adversaries tried to stop the people. In Ezra 4, it says, Now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple, that's not the one I'm looking for. It might be in a different book, Nehemiah. And if I can't find it, I will just, here, this might be it. All right, here it is. This was because there were people on the other side of the Euphrates River were trying to stop the Jews from doing what the king, Cyrus the king, mandated. And when Darius saw the mandate, he reaffirmed the mandate. I will go, Ezra 6 was in verse 1. Then Darius the king made a decree, and a search was made in the house of the scrolls where the treasure was laid up in Babylon. And there was found at Achmetha in the palace that is in the province of the Medes a scroll. And thereon was a record thus written, In the first year of Cyrus the king, the same Cyrus the king made a decree concerning the house of Elohim at Jerusalem. Let the house be built The place where they offered sacrifices, let the foundations thereof be strongly laid. The height thereof 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 80 cubits, with 3 rows of great stone and a row of new timber. And let the expenses be given out of the king's house. And also let the gold and silver vessels of the house of Elohim, which Nebuchadnezzar took forth out of the temple, which is at Jerusalem, and brought into Babylon, be restored back, and brought again unto the temple, which was at Jerusalem, every one to his place, and placed them in the house of Elohim. Now therefore, Tattenai, the governor from beyond the river, Shetharboznai, and your companions, the Arphaxidites, which are also beyond the river, get away from there. This is what Darius the king said, because they were hassling the Jews. Get out of there! And he didn't just say get out of there. He says get far away from there. That's what it says right here. Let the work of this house of Jehovah alone. Let the governors of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house in its place. Moreover, I make a decree that what you shall do to the elders of these Jews for the building of this house, that of the king's goods, even of the tribute beyond the river, forthwith, expenses to be given of these men, that be not hindered, and that which they have need of, both young bullocks and rams and lambs, for the burnt offerings of the Elohim of heaven, wheat, salt, and wine, and oil, according to the appointments of the priests which are at Jerusalem, and let it be given this day by day, without fail, that they may offer sacrifices of sweet savors unto the Elohim of heaven, and pray for the life of the king and of his sons. I also have made a decree that whosoever shall alter this word, listen carefully, he says, whosoever shall alter this word, shall deviate from this word, let timber be pulled down from his house, and being set up as a gallows, let him be hanged thereon, and let his house be made a dunghill for this. And the Elohim that has caused his names to dwell there destroy all kings and people that shall put to their hand to alter and destroy this house of Elohim, which is at Jerusalem. I, Darius, have made a decree, let it be done with speed. Do you see what Darius did? Did you catch it? People, please pay attention. Did you catch what he said? He placed a curse upon any nation in the future who deviated from his decree. How far does that reach? Well, let's look at it like this. He said in verse 12, and the Elohim that has caused his name to dwell there destroy all kings and all people that shall put their hand to alter and destroy this house of Elohim, which is at Jerusalem. You know what he did? You must remember, this was the decree that backed up the decree from Cyrus. Now, so, he said that since the Romans destroyed the temple, and that every nation who participated in it and desecrates the lands even on which the temple is on, let them all be destroyed. think that doesn't apply to Europe and Rome and the Arabians and the Syrians who participated in the destruction of the temple? Let me show you something. Isaiah 44 and verse 28. So he says of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying to Jerusalem, you shall be built, and to the temple your foundation shall be laid. So, this is what Jehovah said about this Gentile king Cyrus, that Cyrus was his servant. Now, if Cyrus was his servant, and Darius, the Persian king who came after him, backed up every word of Cyrus and then backed it up with a curse upon any king in the future and any people in the future who dared to lay a hand of offense against the temple, that those kings and those peoples must be destroyed. So, folks, I just swerved into this one as I was doing this video. I was going to talk about Mount Zion, and we just got led to this point about what Darius, the king of Persia, said. And it is going to be done, every word that Darius said to these nations who lifted a finger against the temple. You see, everybody says, oh, the temple must be rebuilt. No, 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 no. Vengeance on the nations who destroyed the temple of 66 AD must happen first. You see, the curse that came out of Darius's mouth must happen to these nations and their kingdoms who did this. Let me go over it one more time. Ezra 6 and verse 12. Everyone should pay attention to this and realize that it's real. This is not allegory. This is not a shadow of something to come, or it's not, it is real. This curse is real. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been written and placed in the book of Ezra. Verse 12, and the Elohim that caused his name to dwell there, destroy all kings and all people that shall have put their hand to alter and to destroy. That means to alter or destroy this house of Elohim, which is at Jerusalem. I, Darius, have made a decree, and let it be done with speed. Ouch, folks. This one's going to hurt. It's going to hurt badly. It's coming. The words of Darius the king are going to happen. Every word of it. This is all I've got to say about this for now.